Allow me to extend a warm welcome to all the viewers on the internet and around the world. It is sunrise on YouTube, morning on Facebook, noon on Twitter, midday on Threads, afternoon on Twitch, sunset on Instagram, and evening on Rumble. I am your host, the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, and the master of the deceptive arts. We are broadcasting live directly from the sanctum of solitude and the citadel at the end of time. Good evening, everyone. It's the Ancient One here, the Bachelor Supreme, and the master of the deceptive arts, he who remains, and the Phantom Menace. I'm here today with another video, and today's video will be entitled, or there and thereabouts, why alpha masculinity has failed. What we're going to do, as usual, is we're going to define what alpha masculinity actually really is. And then we're going to look at some information, an article actually. I'm having a field day with these articles that really tries to demonstrate that, but just completely contradicts itself. Again, it's always with the contradictions, and I'm just more than happy to point them out, right? But today what I want to do is demonstrate why this popular culture, this alpha masculinity, you may have heard, the philosophy of maintaining alpha masculinity in relationships, in dating, and even with your children. And I'm going to prove that to be an absolute falsehood, and demonstrate why this very popular cultural philosophy is doomed to fail if it hasn't failed already. Not only that, I believe that this failure was pretty much predictable, right? So if you look on your screen, I promised myself that I would take this video seriously, and every time I look at these images, I just end up cracking even the faintest laugh. But if you look at the screen and you look at these men, you will see really a clear demonstration, a living demonstration of where and why alpha masculinity fails, right? And you know, we're gonna define it, but let's first just describe what we're looking at here, in terms of the men, right? So let's start with the gentleman in the bottom right corner. Well, one of the things is that I have men from different demographics. There were more pictures, but I had to really choose the best of the worst, right? So there were far worse pictures, and then there were other pictures that just demonstrated the same effect. But I believe that these pictures, as bad as they are, I'll be able to show them with confidence and still be able to demonstrate this terrific failure of masculinity. Now, starting with the gentleman at the bottom right, he's an Asian man, a man of Asian descent. I cannot say which nationality or ethnicity he is, but notice first of all, and I think this might be a common theme for most of the guys, at least most of the pictures that I looked at. Again, these aren't all the pictures. These aren't all the pictures that I saw. Please feel free to go onto YouTube and type in fathers with tutus and daughters. A plethora of just madness, right? Of madness. Um, this gentleman here on the right, at the bottom, is muscular, right? So that muscularness, those muscles, are there to symbolize strength, right? To indicate capability and, dare I say, intimidation, right? He's standing there in what is a very masculine pose, right? Remove the tutu, remove the ballerina, and what you have there is, quite frankly, a very imposing man, right? By all accounts. Now, I can't speak for his stature, his height, his size, but just by looking at his physical build, right? So, this is a man who spends a lot of time in the gym. Obviously, he cares about what he eats. So he's very disciplined, focused. You don't get muscles like that. You don't buy muscles like that. You earn them. So he works hard, right? He also has a beard. In fact, all these men have a beard of some type, right? A symbol of masculinity, but also maturity among men, right? So does the gentleman at the bottom in the pink tutu. Another indication, right? If we move to the gentleman at the top, what you'll see are tattoos. The gentleman at the bottom, also in the pink tutu, the two men in the pink tutus. Failure of masculinity, by the way. Both of them have very imposing tattoos. The gentleman at the right at the top with the dreadlocks and the obvious street man persona, the bad boy persona, right? It took years to grow those dreadlocks, right? It took years to grow those dreadlocks. He's obviously also a historian and, I would say, a supporter of pro African American or pro African movements. So he's got a tattoo, what is meant to be of Martin Luther King and other, I believe, tribal artware along his torso. The gentleman on the far left, on the top left, I beg your pardon, he is actually wearing jewelry, which is there, I believe, to indicate success and wealth, right? He is, he's not out of shape, but he's there, he's right there. So he's not muscular, but he's not completely out of shape. So he's not in bad shape. Unlike the two gentlemen in the pink tutus, they're a little bit out of shape, but he's not completely out of shape. By all accounts, he's well maintained, right? So he's got the symbols of wealth and success as he defines them, right? But and some tattoos here and there, right? Tattoos indicate a certain level of aggression, right? Which is necessary in a provider protector situation, right? It indicates independence, rebellion, uniqueness, right? Or an attempt at uniqueness. I'm neither for or against tattoos. I think they work for some and they don't work for others. It really depends on where you land on it. My only piece of advice I would get is I would not get a tattoo that I could not cover up with clothing, with like average, ordinary clothing. So, because there's places like work where, things like that are really just not appreciated. So, if you do want to get it, just limit to yourself to where you can hide it, even with a long sleeve shirt or some trousers, right? But no extra accessories. So, you don't want to put it in a place where you need a hat or you need glasses or something like that, or you need to cover it up on your face. Definitely no face tattoos. right? But otherwise, you know, you're not going to be able to go everywhere with tattoos. Absolutely not, right? And it might close some important doors. So, or it might open some peculiar ones. It really depends on where you land, right? But they do indicate a certain level of masculinity, right? The gentleman with the jury indicates a financial success, right? So either he has activities that generate finances, a lifestyle, or personals, or maybe it's just his personal style, right? But those markings, those indications, they do show financial activity, right? Not to mention, he's standing next to a woman with two daughters. That's gonna cost a lot of money, right? Other indications here of certain financial successes that may not be readily apparent is that these are all private photo shoots, right? So these cost money to do, right? And also, the gentleman at the bottom right, he is in what is a private ballet lesson. So he's not just wearing this as a special occasion, he's wearing this to support however long or short that child's ballet career. Ironically, the child herself is not wearing a tutu, right? So there is a clear financial investment made or the capacity to spend money, right? Something else that stands out with these images is the man in the bottom left, and his name is Casey. And he's the man whose article we'll be talking about. And they talk specifically about this moment, this photo shoot. It is delightful to read. I read it twice already, and I laughed all the way through. All the way through. So I hope I've got my laughter out and I can do it with some level of seriousness so that, at least the message comes across with its full intent. But what you'll see here is that this man has his hat backwards, right? This is also a indication that he is at the time a Gen X, right? So this article that we're going to read was written in 2010, right? Almost 16 years ago, right? So he would be right there in the Gen X. Initially, I thought he may have been a millennial, being 30 years old. Then I checked the date that the article was written, and 16 years ago, 2010 was 16 years ago. So he's absolutely a Gen X, and the cap backwards was the quintessential Generation X symbol for rebellion. There are guys who still wear their cap backwards, 40 years old, 45 years old. It is the symbol of rebellion, right? If you're wondering why that generation still wears their hats backwards, it's because everybody else wore their caps forward and they said, absolutely not. We are going our own way, right? Maybe they were the first ones to start that going their own way. And they wore their cap backwards. Some went as far as wearing their shirts backwards and even their jeans backwards. There was a popular group, entertainment group, hip hop artists that wore their clothes backwards. Of course, that trend didn't last very long, right? But I asked myself, based on all these characteristics that we can just deduce, just by looking at them, just by making observations of their demeanors, right? I mean, you look at their hair, for instance, right? Their hair is very well kept, right? Their beards are also very well kept, very well shaven by all accounts, right? So these men are doing to a certain extent, trying to take care of themselves. They're doing their share to take care of themselves. But ask yourself this: did they ever dream of a moment, right? Did they ever dream of a day where they would be wearing a tutu? I mean, just think about that. You're wearing a pink tutu as a grown man. When you were putting on those muscles, when you were wearing your cap backwards and growing that beard, when you were killing it in the gym, I mean, just look at that guy's arms. Killed it in the gym, right? Look at those tattoos. Those tattoos are deliberate, right? He knew what he wanted. He wanted to not just get Martin Luther King, he wanted to get him in his prime. That's a young Martin Luther King. And Martin is the centerpiece of that tattoo. And then the rest of it is just there to support. And it's limited, right? So he does it and he stops where he wants to stop and he completes it. And he didn't add to it. Do you think when he was getting those tattoos, he thought, I'm going to wear this tattoo with a pink tutu. I'm going to wear these jewels with a pink tutu. I can't wait to put on my cap backwards and then wear my tutu, right? It's terrible. It's a terrible failure of masculinity. Not only that, it's predictable. So if you're out there thinking that you're going to be able to maintain alpha masculinity in a relationship, in a marriage, I want you to take a look at these men. Take a look at these men from all different walks of life. Different races, different nationalities, different ethnicities, right? You can clearly see the differences in them just by looking at them. And yet all of them suffering the same miserable fate and smiling through it. And smiling through it. And what you see in truth is that these men actually display or try to display masculine traits. And we're going to define that in a moment, right? They try to display these masculine traits even as they stand there now. Even as they stand there now. In sheer misery, the misery of the dark dimension. If you're a single guy right now, just remember there's a man today wearing a tutu and being convinced that he's doing the right thing. A pink one. But look at the demonstrations of masculinity that they have. You can see masculinity in their life. You can see it in them as a person, in their style, right? Some of these men, they run businesses. Some of these men, they lead departments, right? You can tell that they're older, right? So these are not young men in their 20s, right? This gentleman here was in his 30s. Those kids are grown, right? These are men. If they're in their 20s, they're in their late 20s, but they're in their 30s. Absolutely in their 30s. Most men have children between the ages of 30 and 50, right? Very few men have kids in their 20s. And if you had kids in your 20s, just looking at some of the sizes of those kids, it's been a few years since then, right? So we're talking about accomplished men who may have achieved some success in their lives. So they've been through some hard-earned battles. They've vanquished some enemies. They've defeated rivals. They've won. They've lost. They've been hardened. They've learned to pick themselves up. By all accounts, these men are masculine, right? So what we're going to do now, now that we have seen the victims, right? Let's define some terms, right? And we're going to start with alpha masculinity. So I hope this fits well in your screen. So I'm using another screen for viewing and another one for recording, but I hope it all comes together. But it says here, alpha masculinity. Masculinity is the social expectations of being a man, right? The term masculinity refers to the roles, behaviors, and attributes. So the roles, the part that you play, your behavior, your actions, your attributes, your qualities, personalities that are considered appropriate, right, and good for boys and men in a given society, right? So looking at those men, their role that they're playing, the way that they're acting, and the attributes, the qualities that they're showing, demonstrating, are those qualities appropriate for boys and men in any society? Let's continue. Masculinity is constructed, built, and defined socially, historically, and politically rather than being biologically given. In other words, masculinity is taught, right? You are taught masculinity, and it is entrenched in you, right? You don't just grow it out of you, right? Let's continue. The terms alpha and beta are male pseudoscientific terms used to push a concept of masculinity as necessarily hierarchical and aggressive, right? So we're looking at alpha masculinity. The theory frames the idea of a man as someone who is financially successful, assertive, strong, logical, and a natural leader. In other words, someone that people will follow, right? The leader is the one who goes first, paves the way, and then we then follow that person and their example. What qualifies someone as an alpha male, or rather, what qualifies someone as an alpha male? I should have corrected my tone. Traditionally, an alpha male is seen as someone with strong leadership qualities who's confident, assertive, and often takes charge. They are often described as ambitious, independent, and competitive. Right now, look at what we have just witnessed, right? Would you say that these men are, what did they say here? Aggressive, take charge? Are they in a leadership position, an assertive, strong, logical set of circumstances, right? Did they demonstrate qualities of a person who is confident and takes charge? Is that their ambition, right? To wear a tutu online? Is this competitive? So now we all must be wearing tutus in order to prove our masculinity? I think not. I absolutely think not. But let's continue with another definition. And this one is a bit of a contrast to the last one, right? Just in terms of dynamic, right? So we defined or we looked at masculinity, what alpha masculinity should be. Let's look now at what is a tutu skirt. A tutu skirt is a short, layered skirt, traditionally made of stiff fabric like a tully, worn by female ballet dancers. It's often part of a ballet costume, typically with an attached bodice. The bodice, that's the top part, right? The torso, right? So you get the skirt and the torso, and they come together very nicely. That's why the guys are topless, because they couldn't put on the bodice. It was probably too small. There are two main types: the romantic tutu, which is soft and bell-shaped, and the classical tutu, which is short and stiff, projecting horizontally from the waist. We have more details. The construction. Tutus are made of multiple layers of fabric to create volume and a specific shape. Looking at the materials, it says common materials include silk, nylon, muslin, tarlatan, tully, and gauze. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't know what all those fabrics and materials are, but let's continue. Types, as we mentioned before, there are two types. The romantic tutu, which is longer, reaching the calf or ankle, so it covers the entire leg, and they could have chosen that one, but they didn't, and has a softer, more flowing appearance. The classic tutu is short and stiff. Listen to those words. Designed to jut out from the waist and hips, often seen in pancake or platter styles. Now, does this sound masculine? Does this sound like alpha masculinity? Aggressive, assertive, take charge when your clothes jut out from the waist and the hips in a pancake? Let's continue. The connection to ballet. Tutus are strongly associated with ballet and are kept part of many iconic ballet costumes. I don't know a single ballet that doesn't have a tutu. But it goes beyond ballet, and it'll go out of ballet into your life. Tutus are also popular for dress up, costumes, and even as a fashion statement. Did those men look like they were making a fashion statement? Did Casey look like he was making a fashion statement? In the article that we're going to read, there is absolutely no mention of fashion. No mention of fashion. Just look at the contrast. Just look at the contrast, right? And you're going to see this contrast play itself out in this article that we're about to read. It is going to be mind-blowing, but I'm going to try to keep a straight face and I'm going to read it without laughing, so you can have a look at the situation that you're going to go through if you don't get that vasectomy, right? This is not a joke. This is a serious issue, right? This is going to be your reality. If you think that this is not going to be you, I want you to know that you are absolutely mistaken, right? You are absolutely wrong, right? Because you might think that your father never went through the same sort of circumstances, and I assure you he did. There was a year where your father had to wear a costume. It was either a Santa Claus costume or something ridiculous. And you would have been completely upset if he didn't do it, right? You would have said that he was negligent, right? And now it's your turn. Now you wear the tutu. Now you wear the costume, right? And it's so extreme, right? That when you were there as a child, you wanted your dad to wear that costume so badly. And now years later, you can't even remember that it happened. So what does that tell you? Those moments that you think you're making a difference, you didn't make a difference at all, right? But all that masculinity that we define, completely undone by a garment, by one garment, right? If you were standing there topless in your shorts, in your trousers or whatever that you want to wear, you'd look completely different. But the addition of the tutu completely removes your masculinity, right? Easily undone by the tutu. I mean, how can you wear a tutu as a man? How? How can you wear this, right? And say that this is absolutely fine. I mean, I told you about these fathers. I told you about these fathers. These fathers are an absolute problem. right? And this article is going to prove that this father and his lack of boundaries, his lack of standards, right? If you have that masculinity, that is your standard. If you're saying I'm alpha masculine, this is my standard, you need to uphold that. You can't then break your standard and then claim that, oh no, no, this what I'm doing now, this is alpha masculinity, right? The tattoos, the cap backwards, the muscles in the gym. No, 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 no. That's not real. This, the tutu, this is what real men do. Give me a break. You have gone too far. You people have gone too far. Where are your boundaries, man? Right? These fathers, they live in a perpetual contradiction. In a perpetual contradiction. On the one hand, you're wearing a tutu, you're using sippy cups, you're playing with doll sets, you're wearing tiaras. On the other hand, you demand respect. What? I'm looking at you wearing a tutu. I can't respect that. I cannot respect that. Right? And the people who put you there in that tutu, they can't respect that either. Get a vasectomy, guys. Get a vasectomy. Know thyself. I say know thyself. Do you honestly want to see yourself on the internet for millions of people to see in a tutu? Do you want to be a father? Do you want to be a father? You need to ask yourself that question and you need to answer it honestly. Because you cannot then be finding yourself in this situation and then be blaming other people. Get a vasectomy. Get a vasectomy. Do you want to wear a tutu? Do you want to wear a tutu? Ask yourself that question, man. This is a real situation. This is a real life situation. There is a man wearing a tutu, right? This man has a beard. He's got tattoos. He's got money. He's got a lifestyle. He's got a career. He's got education. He's got a history. He's got enemies vanquished, things to accomplish. And he's got a tutu. We cannot overlook the tutu. We can't go past that. We got to stop right here and we got to address this. We have to address this issue. We cannot, no. We got to talk about the tutu. We've defined it. We know what it is. We've defined alpha. We've defined masculinity. We know what it is. We can clearly see the two don't come together. This is a contradiction. You need to take off the tutu. You need to get rid of it. Or admit that you bent the knee. You're a knee bender, and you cannot unbend that knee. You cannot unbend that knee. And I say to you, know thyself. Know thyself. These men, what you cannot see is they have gray in their beards, some of them. They dyed that beard out, right? That's that midnight shadow, right? Only for men, right? They dyed that gray out. You know what I mean? They drive monster trucks, these guys. The guy with the cap backwards, he supports the Cowboys, right? He's from Texas. He's one of those Cowboy supporters. Now, you know, those Texas Cowboy supporters, I don't know much about American football, but I know that those men are true believers. They don't care when their team is going to win the league, but they just know that Super Bowl, it's coming home. It's coming home. They don't know when, but they know it's coming. And they are willing to wait it out with hope. This is the problem with sports. It gives men endless hope. And Texas, he's from Texas. That's how I know he supports the Cowboys. He's a local boy. You know, he supports the Cowboys, right? That's why, and I couldn't see that cap, but I'm absolutely sure that's a sports team cap. And you'll see it in the article when we start reading it. But some of these men, they got Harley Davidsons. They listen to explicit rap music with tough lyrics, right? They watch live fights without flinching, huh? They prefer live fights to action movies. They drink beer out of a dirty mug. You know, they can travel around the world with no credit card, these men. You can do this. And yet here you are in a tutu. You cannot, in truth, uphold absolute masculinity in any general circumstance. You can't uphold it. But absolutely not when you have kids. Absolutely not when you have daughters. Right? That's just crazy. That's just crazy. And you must remember, in the romance wars, in the relationships, in these marriage, this is what I call it. I call it the romance wars. All your strengths that we described as masculinity, aggression, logic, words like hierarchy. The word hierarchy implies by nature competition, right? It implies competition, therefore implies aggression. Aggression leads to conflict, and it's only through conflict that you can have victory, right? And here those strengths are completely dissolved. They mean absolutely nothing, right? And those strengths, in fact, are delegitimized, while your weaknesses are upheld. I mean, you'll see this man in this article. There are pictures with it. And I kept the pictures, not all, but I kept the pictures for dramatic effect. But what you'll see is this man makes a complete mockery out of himself and then takes credit for it. He takes credit, right? But once you're in these romance wars, you can't leave. You can't refuse. You can't protest. You can't show the logic that you have. I mean, when the counterpart, just imagine the day your wife comes to you with a tutu. You're supposed to be protecting the home. And how does she make the recommendation for you to wear this garment? How do you put together the words, my darling, loving, protecting husband, provider of our family? I have a deep and heartfelt request for you from the bottom of my heart, and I need you to honor it as you would honor our marriage. As you took the vow to honor it in front of God, family, and state. If you truly love me and our family, you will honor me this one humble request. Put on a pink tutu? Absolutely not. Absolutely not, right? So let's look at this article, this sham, and I hope you enjoy it. I did. The title is A Single Dad and His Baby Daughter Wore Matching Tutus for a Heart-Melting Photo. Now, notice how the word tutu is mentioned right in the title of the article, right at the header in the first line. Matching tutus, right? You'll forgive me for mispronouncing the author's name, but it is Aneta Constantinides. She's Greek. So she starts with some background information on Casey, which I found quite meaningful as we read along. So remember, this article was written in 2010. So Casey Fields is 32 years old, is a 32-year-old single father from Texas. took part in a photo shoot, in a tutu photo shoot with his 1-year-old daughter, Layla. Notice again how they mention the word tutu right out the gate, right? This is the second time that the word tutu is mentioned in the first sentence, right? So this was 16 years ago, right? So 16 plus 1, we know that Layla is 17 years old now. So now you have to explain yourself to a 17-year-old. And Casey Fields would now be 49 years old. So he's probably turning 50. So let's say she's 17, almost 18, and Casey is almost 50 years old. Casey told Insider, this is the Business Insider, I forgot to credit them too, that he was nervous at first. I bet you were. I bet you were. Nervous is the right word. When photographer Jen Floyd, a female, asked him to wear a tutu for the photo shoot. But Casey said he forgot he was wearing the tutu as he enjoyed playing with Lila. Lila would be his daughter, right? 1-year-old daughter. Painting her nails and coloring in books together during the photo shoot. He forgot that he was wearing a tutu. You see what I'm saying? These are the kinds of things that fathers have to do. These are the kind of things. So 10 seconds ago, you were completely nervous about embarrassing yourself in the ultimate way. And then now you completely forgot that you're embarrassing yourself in the ultimate way. Casey hopes the photos will show that it's okay for a manly man to put on a tutu and play with his daughter. And this is that contradiction I was telling you about. They live a constant life of lies and contradictions. So on the one hand, you completely forgot you were wearing it, but on the other hand, you're doing it as a demonstration of pride to all mankind. Because why? You are a manly man, a manly man. This is where alpha masculinity falls to pieces. Right there in one statement. It's okay for a manly man to put on a tutu and play with his daughter. It is not okay. There's more. There's more. If you asked Casey Fields to describe himself, he would tell you that he's a manly man, right? That's the tattoos and the cap backwards and the beard, with the midnight shadow in it, right? But the single father, so he's not even with the mother. He's not even with the mother. The single father from Texas was more than happy to put on a tutu for an adorable photo shoot with his 1-year-old daughter, Layla. Get a vasectomy, man. Get a vasectomy. Because look, even if you're not with the mother, even if you're not married to her, they can still make you do nonsense. They can still make you do whatever the hell you want or whatever the hell they want. I mean, what is this? A manly man in an adorable photo shoot with a tutu. Now, the pictures taken by photographer Jen Floyd, a female, are going viral and warming hearts across the country. So millions of people have seen this. Millions of people have seen this. And Casey hopes it will show fellow dads that it's okay for a manly man to put on a tutu and play with his daughter. No, it's not. Here's how the beautiful photo shoot came together. Jen Floyd told Business Insider, that another photographer inspired her to do a father-daughter photo shoot with tutus. So somebody put her up to this. Somebody, the baby mama, the infamous baby mama, it has to be the baby mama. It has to be. It has to be. It has to be. It has to be. Huh? A friend told her, do a photo shoot with this specific man. Huh? And it sort of just came together in your brain. Give me a break. Floyd put out a model call on Facebook, and a friend of Casey's, the infamous baby mama, I knew it. The counterpart strikes once again. A friend of Casey's tagged him in the post. I was like, what the heck? This is Casey speaking. I'll do it, right? So he gets dared and doesn't have the wherewithal to just walk away. So he says, yeah, I'll do it. Casey, 32, told Insider, I had never met Jen before until the day of the shoot. Oh, but your baby mama has. Your baby mama has. I just have a feeling. I just have a feeling. This is too good to be true. This is too good to be true. Casey said he was nervous at first when Floyd asked him to put on a tutu for the photos. I simply wanted to do something that allowed them to interact and show the natural, loving relationship of the two that the two of them share, Floyd said. Natural. Natural. What's natural about this? There's nothing natural about this. You're a man wearing a tutu, a costume for female ballerinas. I mean, does it go any more extreme? It is literally the extreme opposite of what a masculine or alpha masculinity is defined as. This is a costume for ballerinas that they wear when they're dancing ballet on the stage. Layla was so sweet and just loved on her daddy, ran around and laughed. She's 1 year old. She's 1 year old. Casey said he loved the special moments that Floyd was able to capture of him and Layla. My favorite one is of me holding her in the air and she's grabbing my face, he said. That's kind of our thing. She loves my beard. Oh, there's that beard, that manly beard. Huh? And Floyd said her favorite picture was one of Lila sharing a cookie with her father. Oh, now you're sharing cookies. Now you're wearing a tutu and you're sharing a cookie. It was so sweet, she said. It spoke volumes of how her parents are raising her. Oh, the volumes. Oh, the volumes it speaks. My brother, you are wearing a tutu. And you are calling yourself a manly man. Manly man. Tutu. How do you link those two things? How do you go from costumes for ballerina to manly man and bring them together in one unless there is an obvious contradiction? I see a blatant contradiction. Layla had never met me before, but she took me so lovingly. Okay, I didn't read it wrong. That's actually what she said. Floyd added, getting random hugs from her was heartwarming. She's 1 year old. She grabs things, but okay. Floyd shared images from the photo shoot on her professional Facebook page, calling it the cutest session ever. So she went ahead and blasted you on the internet. That's what they're saying, right? I can't get over how perfect these turned out. Oh, I bet she had the lights brightly lit. She didn't want to miss nothing. She wrote in the caption, Casey Fields, showed his, or she named him, the full name. Casey Fields showed his most manly side. Manly. The side that isn't afraid to do whatever it takes to make memories with his daughter. There are limits to manliness. I don't think this is something that people appreciate. They think that manliness is just a never-ending fountain of do whatever. No, no. There are absolute boundaries to what manliness is, and we describe those boundaries. And those boundaries do not extend to tutus. Absolutely not. We continue with confidence. Floyd told Insider that she was extremely shocked when the photos went viral. No, she was not. We all saw those photos. I remember the moment I texted my husband in disbelief that we had 1,000 shares. Since then, it's millions, right? Millions. She said, now that seems comical as we hit or at almost, as we sit, I beg your pardon, at almost 53,000 shares. 53,000 shares, that's millions of views. Casey said he has been blown away by the amount of attention his photo shoot with Lila has received. Oh, attention is a hell of a drug. It is a hell of a drug. I never expected it, he said. Yeah, I could have predicted that. I think people see the great amount of love I have for Lila and that I'm willing to do anything for her without a doubt. There is no doubt. There is no doubt that you do not have limits. You don't have any boundaries. You don't have any boundaries. And mind you, this is a 1-year-old who'll never remember this. She'll never remember this moment, right? So you say you're doing it for that child. This was 16 years ago. She's 17 years old today. How is this moment defining in her entire life when I mean, she's not going to remember nothing that happened in this day, right? This moment did not register at all, right? You'd be better off giving her a ball to play with. She won't register the ball any more than she'll register this photo shoot. Oh, but the pictures will live on in infamy for eternity. Those pictures are on the internet, and here they are. Here they are on the channel of the Ancient One. Unraveled again. This was 17 years ago. 16 years ago. 16 years ago, I beg your pardon. This was 16 years ago, and here we are today, breaking it down. This is not going away, my friend. This is not going away. Your shame will live in infamy forever. People see a single dad being involved with their kids. This is involvement, and it just melts hearts. Maybe it did at the time. I can't say for certain. But looking at it as a vasectomite, from a bachelor's point of view, it doesn't melt my heart. It concerns me because I see a blatant contradiction. I often do. I never wanted this kind of attention. I just wanted to do something for her, he added. I can believe that he didn't want all the kinds of attention that he got, because I'm sure some of it was just not good, including my own. So I can believe that first statement. But to then hide behind your 1-year-old daughter and say, well, this is all for her, I don't know about all that. The whole session was an awesome experience. So he's the only one that remembers this, by the way, right? The child's not going to remember, but he is. But he says the whole session was an awesome experience, and it's just something we can look back on and laugh about. Yes, Casey. Yes, Casey. We will look back at this and absolutely laugh. I know I did all day long, right? Floyd said she believes people have had such a strong response, a masculine word used to describe a tutu. Such a strong response to the photos because they love seeing moments between a dad and their daughter. People love to see moments between a dad and the daughter and the father and the son, right? We love to see that. But this is an embarrassment. This is shameful. This is not what we're talking about. Now, I, for one, am a pure vasectomite, no wife, no kids, and a vasectomy. I'm out the game. I'm completely out of this romance war, right? But it is heartwarming to see fatherly love displayed positively. This is not that. This is a mockery of fatherhood. This is an insult. What kind of woman wants to see her man in a tutu? What kind of woman wants that? There's no woman in the world who ever said that. Not a single one. This is a setup, man. This is a vile act of hatred, and the energy of the counterpart is all over this. I sense the counterpart in full measure. Only a vengeful woman, not a man. A man would never put you in a tutu. Your enemies, your male enemies, would never put you in a tutu. Only the counterpart, I assure you. Let's continue with confidence. And when you're one, there are no fake moments, she added. She has strange speaking patterns, right? They behave authentically and they love authentically. I was honored to capture a few of them. I'm assuming she's meaning a few of the moments, right? And photos. The tutus were just a bonus. Now, the word bonus means an additional extra over and above what is necessary or essential, right? The word tutu was mentioned in the first two sentences and in almost every sentence throughout this article. How is it now a bonus? It is the centerpiece of the artwork. It is the centerpiece of the day. The entire theme was tutu. How is it now a bonus, an additional extra? Casey said the photo shoot helped teach him that it's okay to get on your kid's level. It is absolutely not okay to get on a kid's level. You should always be above a kid's level. You should always be above a kid's level. For this reason, I would go as far as to say, at this stage of human evolution, it is incumbent on Gen X or Gen X or the millennials who are now 40s, 50s, 60s to take charge of the situation in the world and guide it. Because if you don't, Gen Z will. And we don't know what the hell they'll do, right? Because they got these parents that's 32 years old putting himself at the level of a 1-year-old. Now that 1-year-old is 16, 17 years old and you're almost 50 and you still going to be at that level, when are you going to grow up? When are you going to grow up? What is this, your third childhood? No, man. No. This picture here is actually my favorite picture right now for the reason that they gave him that pink pencil with the pink fluff at the end of it. Now that was just the cherry on top, right? I mean, there is no purpose. There is no purpose for that pink pencil. with that fluff at the end. I don't know what they call that ball of fur. I can only just describe it, right? There's no need. There's no need. I mean, you already got the man practically naked. You already have him playing with a child. He's already wearing a tutu. We can see the contrast. He's already called himself a manly man. And then they put this ridiculous pencil in his hand, like a pink wand, to just wave around the room. Doesn't that just stink of the counterpart? Everything you know about them? Wouldn't they do this to you? I think they would. I think they would. I think they'd set it up and then make you pay for it. Oh, this is just what they do. It's just what they do. Let's continue. It reads, it's for them. Live in the moment and cherish it and make memories. He added, it's okay for a manly man to put on a tutu, no it's not, and play and interact with his daughter. Play and interact with your daughter? I'll accept that. Tutu, I will not, and I will not move past that. It doesn't make you less of a man. Yes, it does. And if anybody thinks, that's me, he's talking to me, thinks that about me, I really don't care. Oh, yes, you do. This picture didn't age well. This moment didn't age well. I did it for Lila. Do you think she notices? Do you think she knows? I don't think so. I think you really blew this. I think you'd be better off, or you'd be better served if you had just got a vasectomy. I think this is so typical of knee benders. They will justify. This is what they do. They'll get married and be miserable in that marriage and then induce you to get married so you can be miserable too. And then there's the two benders spending their whole lives trying to get men into marriages, right? And be terrified to leave themselves, right? And just lie. Just lie, just telling you how happy they are with their 6 kids and how glorious it is and how successful they've been and how rich they've become, but they'll never show you their bank account. You've never seen the bank account of a married man in your life, and you never will, because if you do, he knows you're going to lose respect. He knows you're going to see that the whole thing that he's done is nothing but a sham. Just like this. This is an absolute sham, right? He goes because he knows. Why does he make that qualifier? And if anybody thinks that about me, right? He says it doesn't make you less of a man. And if anybody thinks that about me, I really don't care. That's not true. That's not true. You made the full statement. On the one, you knew you'd be criticized for it. You knew you'd be criticized for the contradiction, right? Then you addressed hypothetically the people that you knew were going to criticize you, and then you dismiss them before they have an opportunity to voice their opinion. And then you hide behind your 1-year-old daughter and say that this debacle, this shameful, ridiculous act is in her honor and in her name, when she doesn't even know it's happening. You see that contradiction? And when you apply logic to it, it all falls apart badly, right? Badly. This is all an emotional plea to say, hey, I can see what I'm doing, and I see that you see what I'm doing, and it's not coming together for me. But I have a child and I have responsibilities, and this is the part that I need to play for whatever the reason, right? And he's saying to you that there's nothing I can do. When he says, I really don't care, that means there's nothing I can do, right? He clearly addresses what the problem is. Then he addresses the people. Then he indicates that nothing will be changed. This is what it is. Get a vasectomy, guys. Get a vasectomy, because he's clearly telling you and telling all of us that once you're in this, you're in this. You're not getting out of this. You're not getting out of this. And it's only a matter of time before they put you in that Spider-Man costume, and then you will know the true extent of your failures when you are now a cartoon. Floyd said she hopes the photos will show that there are fathers out there that would do anything for their kids. Yes, there are. Yes, there are. And those men need to get vasectomies, because once you have those kids, this is an indication, right? That once you have those kids, no more limits for you. They'll make you do whatever, and I mean anything, in the name of the kids. Before the kids are even able to speak for themselves, they will speak on behalf of those kids. And and as they speak, nothing will make sense, right? They will claim, this is what the counterpart claims. The counterpart claims and asserts that she understands children, infants, that she understands them. How? They don't even have the capacity to express themselves. So you're telling me the 1-year-old who can't even say her own name, which is just 2 syllables, Lila, she can't even say her own name, told you that she wanted her daddy to put on a tutu and take a photo shoot? She put together that string, that combination of words? Nope, I don't think so. I don't think so. But this does tell you there are fathers out there that will do anything once they have kids, right? Then all limits are off. It's easy to expect them to be financial supporters. Easy to expect them to be financial supporters. Do you know how expensive kids are? But we need to remember that they can support in so many other ways as well. So what are they telling you? It's not enough. It's not enough to be successful and dignified. It's not enough to be stoic and manly, right? You gotta come down to their level and put on a tutu. Imagine running a company. Imagine going to war. Imagine being president of the United States and then coming home and putting on that pink, transparent, see-through tutu that juts from the hip and makes a pancake around the waist. Lord have mercy. And Casey said he hopes the pictures show why being a dad is the best job he's ever had. Listen to those lies. These are the words of a full and complete knee bender. A true Texas Cowboys supporters. I don't want to be praised for being a dad, he said. He's lying. He wants to be praised for being a dad. He wouldn't have won the tutu otherwise. There are so many kids with absent parents. Okay, this is a contradiction. On the one hand, you are being a present parent, and we'll give you that. But you don't want to be praised. You don't want to be praised for being a dad. You just want to criticize the dads that aren't present, but not praise yourself for being present. Layla has 2 parents, he continues to triumphantly declare, even though they may not be together. And then he contradicts himself in the same breath. This man is absurd. We are still both fully involved with her. How? How is this accurate? How are you separate but together? How are you both parenting at the same time but apart? What? He finally, and it concludes, I will always go above and beyond and maybe a little extra for Lila. This is true. When you have a child, normal, the level of normal is raised all the way up. You got to go above and beyond. You got to give 100%, and then you got to go and borrow more money and give more, right? That's what he means by above and beyond and then more, right? Because you can't give above and beyond yourself. You can give above and beyond your financial limits, right? I want to be the standard at which she holds in a man when she gets older. That statement right there is exactly why I keep saying these fathers are a massive problem. Because you cannot expect a husband to want to do this just because you did it, right? And this is what I'm telling you. They're setting you up, man. If you're getting married and having these kids, it's the fathers that are in on it. Because he knows he has the option of bringing you to the side and telling you, don't do it. Don't get married. Don't settle down. Don't do it. Go get your vasectomy. Freeze your sperm first if you have doubts, but go, and don't come back. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay single. Protect your commitment. He could say those words to you, but what does he do? He sets you up, right? With the double play. He comes in so that you can double up. So he says, what are your intentions for my daughter? In just the most ominous voice, right? Because he's already put on the tutu. He's done the investment, right? So now you got to meet that investment and top it, right? So he's going to play you like the standard is just so immaculate, right? It's the level of success is so high, right? That he doubts that you'll be able to attain it. When what in fact he describes as success is abject failure. This man wore a tutu. He wore a tutu. We cannot call that success. We cannot call that good. I don't see how you can do that. And unfortunately, there are so many benders that will stand on this, because if they don't, it's catastrophe, right? Just imagine when they asked him to put on the tutu and he refused. The manipulation. Do it for Layla. Do it for your daughter. What kind of father are you? Right? The manipulation it must have taken to get him to that point must have been absolutely absurd. And eventually he just caved because he was just tired of arguing over nothing. And when he caved, oh, he embarrassed himself. Oh, you have embarrassed yourselves, men. You've gone too far. The tutu is too far. It truly is. And if you don't want to wear that tutu, listen to me, my brother. You think a vasectomy is expensive? I'll tell you how much a tutu is. You'll pay $15 to $20 for that tutu. And that vasectomy will cost you $1,550. And I'll tell you what, that vasectomy is worth it. Man, 100 vasectomies are worth that one tutu. You don't want to wear that tutu. You get your vasectomy because you're guaranteed to do it. You're guaranteed to get a woman pregnant. You will achieve insemination. It is guaranteed to up to a 95% of men become fathers by the time they're 60. And remember, as a man, you can still have kids all the way past 70, all the way at 80. Remember the actor? He just had a little baby. That could be you. And they'll put you in a tutu at 80 years old if you think the counterpart won't do that. You are not paying attention. The counterpart has no limits. They have no limits. They live for this. This is all they live for. Misery. Misery. And they will define it as success. You read this article with me. They just tell you it's good and it's successful. You're in a tutu. It's a see-through pink tutu. Heartwarming. It's troubling to see if you saw a grown man in a tutu walk into your place of work walk into the bank, if you saw a grown man walk into a police station with a tutu, you'd lose it. You'd absolutely lose it. You would not congratulate them. But here, we are supposed to not only accept it, we're supposed to congratulate it. That's absurd. This is unfair. And those pictures are immaculate. By the way, credit to the photographer, Jane Floyd. You brought it on home. Oh, you truly captured the spirit, the essence of the moment, and you immortalized it. We'll be looking at these pictures forever. I might hang one up in my house, in the sanctum of solitude. Now that I think about it, I'm going to do just that. I'll find a place for it and a frame, and I'll put the picture up of that man with that pink pencil. So daily I can remember to exercise gratitude. If you're a bachelor and you suffer from that male loneliness epidemic, I want you to have a look at those pictures. I want you to have a close look at those pictures and remember, it could be you. It could be you. You could have plans this weekend. You could have plans this weekend to put on a tutu. This is the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, with another heartfelt video. Thank you for your attention. I appreciate it, and I always will. Have a nice day.